Hey, fellow comic book fans. Batman goes back to basics in Detective Comics number 988. All right, guys. So, Batman, in this issue, he is not preventing the multiverse from coming to an end or really dealing with anything too personal or emotional. He's investigating a homicide in Gotham City. Now, initially, of course, what happens, it seems as though the situation is much simpler than it looks, as one could have expected. It blossoms into something entirely different. But for the most part, Batman is back to being a detective. Even Jim Gordon is surprised when Batman shows up just because there's a dead body in the street. And I, for one, am very happy to see that Batman is back to being, traditional Batman here. For a while now, we've had a very emotional Batman, a lot of, relationship examinations and things like that going on in the Batman series. We had a lot going on in Detective Comics prior to the start of this arc. And finally, like I said, I feel like in this issue, we have a much more traditional take on Batman. I really enjoyed this, and I'm kind of glad that he's back. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate this back to basics Batman. It is really nice. Now, I still have some issue with, I realize it's like, yes, he's kind of getting over some of his stuff, but it still was brought up. They made it sure that you knew the reason he was here doing this was because of all the stuff that's happened recently with Catwomen and all that stuff. It's like, I was over it last week. I didn't need it again. All I needed to was be like, yes, we understand you're having problems. You're back to basics. And just him talking with Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, it was just awkward, where it was like, it almost felt like he was forced to have feelings when it was just like, I don't necessarily want to talk about my feelings. I just kind of want to shut up and just get on with things. Yeah, all right. We know it's going to be there a little bit, but it just keeps they're just dragging it out when they just don't need to be. So that's my big issue. Otherwise, I absolutely loved it. I thought, the artwork and everything was great. It went back. It wasn't we had some silly Batman almost with the condiment villains last week. We didn't need that, in my opinion. I was much happier to have a serious villain, a serious subject, but just him being, refreshed and getting back to his roots.
Yeah. Well, part of it, I totally agree with the whole I'm over the wedding thing as well. Mm-hmm. And that is partially the way this issue starts out. I mean, you've got really this emo version of Batman who's kind of unshaven, who's trying to get back to his roots to, find himself. And fortunately, they get that out of the way in the first few pages, and he actually becomes, Gotham's greatest detective. He notices an anomaly about what happened to the body. He goes and he finds something mysterious about the victim, and then a villain that throws flame instead of ketchup at him is the one that he has to battle. So I'm liking this version of Batman much better. We have someone who is not superpowered, who's using all of his human qualities to do good in a world that's overcome with all kinds of badness. And then while he's kind of come through something, working on the side of good finally, the world is burning behind him. And that's exactly the way Batman should be, emerging from the wreckage of the past to try to, put the bad guys in jail. I'm down with that.
Move on to some degree.
Yeah. And see, this is, I don't know about you guys, but this is the kind of story that I expect from Detective Comics.
It's kind of in the name.
This was a good one.
Exactly.
Right, it is in the name. That's very true.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, it was really nice to see, like I said, Batman back to being a detective, back in the black and gray costume, which I really dug watching him use it. Because last issue, there was really no action at all.
Yeah,
No.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll just leave that there. But we do get to see Batman doing his thing here. And I mean, as much as I like what's happening, just say in Justice League right now, you know, we have this multiverse shattering event where Batman plays a key role in preventing that from happening. This is the Batman I actually prefer. And I definitely want more of this, like I said, back to basics Batman.
Yeah, he did. I do like how, like, you know, using the old suit, you're so, you know, there's problems with it in a way. Like, they're like, hey, we need to address this. And that was kind of cool.
Yes.
It's not just like, hey, I have, you know, all the different kinds of suits for every situation. It's like, nope, this suit isn't perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. That was refreshing. It was very interesting. This was a relatively action-packed issue, I would say. I am eager to see exactly what's going on. This is definitely a mystery that's blossoming into something larger, which is to be expected. But overall, I think that this is really good. Now, do you guys prefer this basic, the world's greatest detective Batman, or would you rather have the, let's say, the more intimate issues or the large world-ending issues?
To some degree, I like having two. I like having the world-ending issues when he's with the League is nice, or I like having these more detective issues like this when he's by himself. It seems appropriate, so I could go either way.
Well,
To just cut out the emotional Batman.
I don't need the emotional
I
Batman.
have to say that I think that all three of them need to exist because they've always existed in one form or another. I think that lately, however, they've overplayed their hand in demonstrating, the multiverse breaking version of Batman versus the total emo Batman, and gone back to just the detective. I think they went a little too far in those other stories that I'm happy to come down to a more down to earth version of Batman.
Which I believe we've discussed in previous issues that I know that we've talked about it between the three of us, but definitely, I know I, for one, was looking for this kind of return to his roots, essentially. And this is a pretty cool, it seems like it's going to be, I don't want to say it's straightforward, but it's not a very complex, or at least it doesn't seem like it's going to be a very complex story. This is going to be a mystery that's probably going to be wrapped up within the next 2 issues, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be overly complicated. I mean, there'll be enough there to keep you into it and, interested, but it's not going to make things overly complicated. It's not going to drag out too long, things like that, which I think will be good.
Which is exactly what we need, right? Yeah,
just something a little, fresh and away from all the stuff that's been happening.
I completely agree. Overall, Detective Comics number 988 brings Batman back to basics, essentially. That's what the three of us thought about it. When you read the comic, let us know what you think about it in the comments down below, or if you want to comment before you read it, let us know what you think about, how do you feel about basic Batman the detective? Do you prefer that, or do you prefer the Batman that's in the Justice League where we have these world-shattering events?
Or if you live in the world like most people, there can be more than one thing.
I don't know. I think everyone prefers one over the other. I think we don't mind reading the others, but I think we do prefer one. It's kind of like the Who's Your Batman thing in the movies.
Sorry. There are 51 flavors, pal, and I'm going to eat every damn one of them.
Yeah, but
I expected Charlie to say that over you. I would think Charlie has a favorite. Charlie, do you have a favorite?
Favorite Batman? I definitely prefer this basic detective Batman. I do. The only time I really like Batman in the, world-ending scenarios, I like when he's just like brains behind the operation. That's what I dig. But yeah, this would be my kind of Batman story. This is what I like reading, especially since we have a lot going on in the Justice League right now. For me, this is refreshing. So there's that.
Well, all right.
But with that being said, so again, that was Detective Comics number 988. Let us know what you think about it. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and as always, check out thebrazenbull.com for more great comic book content. Until next time.
Adios.
Bye.